Welcome everyone to Mission Dharma. Looks like we're a little light right now, so let's give it a few minutes before we have an official hello. Glad to see those of you who are here. We'll try to let it hit the 30 mark. Okay, not making it to 30 to start, but we can begin. Again, once again, welcome. The more of you that are willing to put your camera on, the better. To simulate that feeling of being together, I also invite you to unmute and say hello, maybe say where you're calling in from.
Keith from Berkeley.
Hey Keith, welcome.
Paul, San Francisco.
Hey Paul, welcome. Glad you're here.
David
Matt from
Burlingame.
Maui.
I'm Matt from
Howie.
Maui.
Oh, wow. Katie from San Francisco.
Welcome, Katie.
David from Burlingame.
Hey David, glad to see you.
Stephen from the coast of British Columbia.
Wow.
Stephen, welcome.
Trisha from San Francisco.
Hello, Trisha. Glad you're here.
Laura
Hello,
from
Joannie.
Hello.
Hi, Howie.
Was that Laura?
Yes, hi Howie.
Hi, Laura. Hear you're coming to town soon.
Yes, looking forward to it.
Glad to hear that.
Sujo from San Francisco.
Where are you? I'm looking for you. Oh, yes. Good evening. Glad you're with us.
Thank you. Same.
Angela, San Francisco.
Hey, Angela.
Terry from Phoenix.
Hi, Terry. Terry by phone.
Regina from Houston.
Hi, Regina. Glad you're here.
John, San Antonio.
Hey, John. Always happy to see you.
Carl from Orcas Island, Washington.
Welcome, Carl. Glad you're with us. Okay, well, I'm pleased by hearing your voices, seeing your faces. This is what brings it alive and allows that very special combination of being alone in our own space, but together, and just doing some practice together and not feeling like we're practicing alone. So without further ado, let's sit a little bit. Appreciate just that simple fact that you are aware, awake, conscious, whatever word you want to use, that you have senses, you have eyes and ears and nose and tongue, body and mind. What a miracle. So opening to the miraculousness of what is so immediate. We let our eyes close and feel the immediacy of our seclusion, the immediacy of the dark, and let that dark be filled with the felt experience of our sitting bodies, and feeling them so intimately that the idea of our body gives way to just the experience of the elements of sensation, the weight, heaviness, earth, sense of solidity or cohesion, the water, the temperature, the fire, the air that we breathe, the air element. Reminding ourselves that what lives inside of you, what breathes each of us, is the same, all connected by this mana, spirit. And just experience this. The form and the shape of the body just felt as points of sensation flickering like stars in an evening sky, just free to be in the openness of our practice. Just noticing how our body is breathing all by itself. Breathing is not personal, it's just nature. And notice how just including in this field of awareness the body and breath, without trying to calm, the body becomes more still, more calm. Without trying to be more still, the body stills. Just from mind, attention coming together with our body. Just feeling and enjoying the body's experience of its own breath. This gift that's offered freely. Another byproduct of this coming together of our attention and body and breath is our mind just quite naturally empties of its usual preoccupation and becomes filled with the life of the present moment, giving us a chance to savor the only reality, which is this experience you're having right now. Everything else is imaginary. Just this breath, just this body, just this moment. And while we're here, we welcome sounds. They enter our field of awareness. We don't cling to anything, we just let the sounds arise and fade. without naming them or judging them, just hearing. When moods come, we just let them be felt like internal weather fronts. Not doing anything about them, not working through them, not undoing them. Just experiencing the nature of moods and emotions. And then when thoughts visit, we welcome them like clouds blowing through a windy sky. They really have no more reality than these little ephemeral bubbles. Everything is welcome. What allows us to notice this full array of experiences, to stay connected, stay undistracted, which we find more easily if we keep our attention more anchored in our bodies, because they're here, just this moment, this breath, or whatever presents itself, this field of awareness. When you realize that you haven't been noticing the thinking mind, but lost in the thinking mind, this is a moment that reminds us that mindfulness has come back online and we're now awake to where we are, aware of what's happening. So celebrate that awakening. And in support of remaining aware, awake, we find our body again and breath. U Tejaniya reminds us that whatever you're experiencing right now is the right experience. There's no need to be happy or unhappy about it. It's just be happy with the fact that it's being noticed. Just this moment. Just resting in that state of being aware of the body and breath and each presently arising experience when it moves to the foreground. Nothing to do about what you're noticing, nothing to undo, nothing to fix or figure out. Just being aware, supported by the body and breath. Since being aware has no destination in time, every moment is a new beginning. You can always begin again, fresh. Appreciate that simple fact of being aware. Find your body, minus the word. Find the experience of breathing. The sound of silence. Just this moment. Thank you so much for your practice. I was healed by sitting with you tonight. And that feeling I could barely sit up, and now I feel a little bit energized and grateful. Had a few fun thoughts that I'll eventually share. But first, I'd like to hear from you. While it's fresh, any questions, comments that based on what arose in your practice, any topics, anything you'd like me to discuss. Again, whatever your questions, comments, topics will likely be of some use to someone else, so please feel free. Madison, whoa, long time no see. Glad you're with us.
Thank you. Yeah, I just thought of a topic which would be being relaxed in the middle of obligations and work and things being hectic. Somehow maintaining a calm core. That was just what I came up with, thinking that would be very helpful for me in the middle of stuff.
I can't imagine anyone else would be interested in that topic.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm teasing you.
Teasing.
Everybody wants to know how to maintain a little peace and well-being in the midst of our hectic lives. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of a broad Dharma topic. Maybe tell me more about what's happening with you that would allow me to be a little bit more focused or specific.
I don't know if this will help. So at a busy day at work, I went and grabbed a cup of coffee at Starbucks. I came home and I had lost my phone. It had fallen in the car. I got a flashlight, got the phone back, but I was dead tired after work. I just sat in my chair in Starbucks like a blob. And I think I need to know how to be calm in the middle of working so that I have my wits about me. Because I don't, a phone can fall out at any time, I realize.
That's true.
It could have been any reason, but it was just this thing of, God, I gotta stay calmer. Because when I realized I was sitting in a coffee shop, like practically napping, I thought, this is not great. Okay, so I think that would be good. And then when I came in and had just found the phone, I had to just jump into the meditation like cold. And I did the loving kindness thing, and that was nice. And then I kind of got there. But yeah, things that would just be calming. It wasn't, nothing bad happened or anything. It wasn't
Right. I
super
get it.
stressed. It was just like, how does one remain
Yeah.
so that I'm on an even keel?
Yeah. Thank you. Just in general, we become absent-minded because sometimes we move too quickly. We're rushing, and rushing doesn't have so much to do with speed, has to do with a kind of attitude of mind. And so really the heart of the response is about checking in, being aware of what's happening in your body. You know, Ajahn Chah's great line, which is such a great companion for so many people for non-distractedness. He just says, don't let your mind leave your body. Don't let your mind leave your body. And just having that body awareness tends to help you register when you're starting to topple forward, when you're starting to rush, when you're worried, or just whatever your mental state is, it becomes more current. And anything that mixes with your attention will become more pacified, will become more calm. So it's really about staying more current in the middle of your daily life. And so that has to start when you wake up in the morning, resolve to obviously do your work well and thoroughly, and you'll get absorbed in it, but also resolve to check in frequently. And if peace and calm is really an intention, then that's the hub around which you do your work. That becomes the hub. And perhaps in the course of doing that for long enough, you may recognize again, because I know you have before, but you may recognize that peace and calm is the natural peace and calm of our mind. That's what we are. Before we can think, that's what we are. We are peaceful and calm. That which notices is always peaceful and calm. That which we're noticing is not peaceful and calm, but that which is noticing. And so that when noticing and the calm of noticing becomes much more of a companion, just simple noticing, then the fragrance of calm starts to infuse, everything. It's just kind of the default. So I know you can do it, medicine. I know everyone here can, because that's what we are. Anyone else?
Howie.
Risha, please. Sejong. After Sejong, I'll come back to you, Tricia, since you have your hand up. Please feel free. Sejong? Sujong.
Me first.
Yes,
Hi.
please.
So I had a really tough day today, and I know that this will keep coming up at my work. And then while I was so excited to be here, sitting here with you all, but I can't help myself thinking about, like just to looking at, keep going, repeating the story about what
Yes.
happened,
Yes.
what I'm gonna talk about it tomorrow at the meeting and stuff. And I think that the problem is that with my equal colleagues that, I am leading the team, but I would say I like to be flexible when it comes to, like make it easier for everybody, but different person, she just wanted to make sure she has to keep questioning, and it's just so, I feel like it's just make it so difficult. And then when I request something, I just have to like facing all those questions, too many questions in the middle of doing something important or like urgent. So I'm like trying to figure it out how I'm gonna do it, how I'm gonna move forward.
Mm.
And then if I don't, deal the issues, then, it's just coming off the upper management. We have to have a meeting together. It's just like, oh my God, I want to
Yes.
be away from this person
Yeah.
as quickly as possible. But reality is I have to stay, and I love
Right.
my job.
This could be a longer conversation, but I will just say that anytime you have a repeating theme, it means that you are not actually feeling it usually has an engine of an underlying feeling. It's like worry or frustration or something. And so the attention goes repetitively to it. It goes to that future or that past event. And in that process of thinking about it, you become disembodied. You lose touch with just your immediate felt experience. And so you may not be able to resolve or figure out what to do about this person or about what you can't really resolve what management does or anything, but you can. Your first things first is that you can resolve your own upset. And that is by bringing attention and loving kindness to that feeling of upset. So that means, especially when it's repeating, it's just telling you to put your mind back in your body and just sense what the feeling is in your body. So right now, if I asked you, without trying to do anything about it or undo it, just tell me what you're noticing in your body and where you feel it, this experience that you're having. Where do you feel it most in your body? Because usually there's a feeling in your body.
And my
Right there.
chest right there.
Okay, so just let that be felt for a moment without doing anything about it. Just make sure that you don't stop breathing. Just you breathe with it, not trying to make anything happen, just knowing, basically saying, it's okay that you're here. Let me just make a little room for you. And then just notice what happens if you just make a little room for that feeling. And maybe tell me what you're noticing now, if you can.
Little bit easier on my chest.
A little
I feel
easier
a
on your
little
chest? Okay, just
little
notice
lighter.
that. Notice that a little minor easing. And any other kind of mood connected to that feeling in your chest that you're feeling right now. Any kind of mood, emotion. Maybe just tell me what you're noticing now.
A little bit of maybe a little bit of self-pity. And then hopeless a little bit. I would say helpless or hopeless about my future.
So now you're thinking again. You're thinking about it.
Okay.
You don't want to lose your body. So I'm going to move on, but I wanted you to just have that reminder that when your mind starts repeating and trying to figure things out and solve, often our body gets abandoned, and we need all our senses, not just our thinking mind, to resolve situations. Because if you include your whole body, then your intuition can function a little bit better. You're just
Okay.
so, and lots of heart rubs. Lots of heart rubs.
Right
Just
there.
to help you stay here. Anyway, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Tricia, please feel free. You'll have the last word tonight.
Well, it seems like everybody's so far talking about, dealing with certain feelings, and it kind of brought up my own feelings that I've been struggling with. I'm not an angry person, but I have someone in my life that really knows how to trigger that. And I so don't want to be triggered, but like I'm really like when I'm alone and quiet or going throughout my day from job to job, I drive. So I have these moments where I can really become present. And I'm trying to do that more and more off of the seat. But like the other two women mentioned, like talking, like having to be with other human beings. and coming up against misunderstanding. I believe that's all it stems from. But then it sort of becomes this polarization with this one human being where I'm misunderstood in such a way that I feel like I'm being demonized. And I get really reactive to that and defensive, and I don't want to. And I keep, every time I'm like, this is just an opportunity for next time. And I can't seem to break this pattern of becoming aware as the defenses come up and the anger comes up with this one human being in my life. And I just don't know how to break this. I've even been doing the Lama, not Lama, she's Lama Sultram
So
Allion.
Alione's doing the demon work.
Yes. And I just started doing that. I'm just like desperate to try to find a way to break this pattern I have with this person to make it a healthier
Yeah, I don't
experience,
think we
because
can. Yeah, sorry.
I just feel like it's a reflection of the whole country. I feel so polarized when
Yes.
that misunderstanding becomes an identity almost. So
Yeah.
I would love some thoughts on that, to work with that.
Well, I can completely appreciate wanting to break a pattern of reactivity, but you know that sometimes wanting to break it, in some ways, wanting not to have to deal with it, in some ways keeps inviting it. Somehow you somehow part of it has to be creating a, a welcoming of this trigger. It's easy to talk about, harder to do. But welcoming the trigger, as you were speaking, I was saying, well, this person is a very tough guru for you because
Indeed.
they gotcha. And really, just like I think Jin, I can't remember if Jung, sorry, just like Jung, the way the person gets you is you become your sense of well-being, your sense of wholeness, your sense of peace that Madison was speaking about becomes externalized. It becomes dependent on what that person said or didn't say, thinks about you or doesn't think about you, sees you or doesn't see you. And as long as your well-being is dependent on them, you're caught in what we call samsara, kind of endless waiting to resolve. Of course, you always want to resolve if you can, but the setup, it's if it isn't one thing, it's another thing that will trigger us. And so the practice, in a way, is in some way saying, okay, this is what triggering feels like. You take the attention, you expand the attention beyond that person to just feel what's going on and take complete responsibility for the trigger. That person can't cause you to feel the way you do. It's your own internal. That person may try that with other people, and they don't take the bait. So this is really calling you to bring loving attention to your upset. And that person's giving you the gift, a reminder of reminding you that you've gotten externalized and you need to come back to yourself every single time. So every time they trigger you, thank you for reminding me to stay home and to tend to this reactive heart.
Okay.
That's one way to think about it. That's again, I think with each person, it's a longer conversation. It's really not resolvable in a few minutes. But I appreciate you bringing it here because you're not alone. We're all being triggered right now, big time. But I don't think others are going to cooperate with us. So we can't have our well-being dependent on them being any different. We don't, our own minds don't even cooperate with us, let alone other people. So again, thank you for each of you who spoke, for reminding us all that it's challenging to be human. So let's see if we can slide back to just a reminder, it's Thanksgiving week. And I think both the three people who spoke and some of my thoughts during the sitting having to do with Thanksgiving, I'll go back to this. I had this recollection of this conversation. Let me back up a little bit. I have to kind of regroup here. So I think of Thanksgiving as a very complicated, complex holiday because it was essentially created in the 19th century. Commemorating an event that actually happened in 1621, where there was a meal that took place between the Native Americans and the British visitors, and it was a meal that was during the meal it was friendly. But it was really a diplomatic meeting, a meeting that was good for both of them. So there was a little merit. It was good for each person. It was good for them. But it was in a way, it was a diplomatic meeting. And it fell apart very soon after. And what preceded and what followed was just untold numbers of people being murdered, just betrayal, murder, displacement, dispossession, just horrific effects of what is often celebrated. What that celebration, Thanksgiving, was created basically in about the time of Abraham Lincoln, because the country was thought needed a unifying story to a story of thanksgiving, of gratitude. And so what was left out was the horrors of the dispossession and the murders and all of that of the native peoples. So it's complicated in that way. And for many people, this is a day of mourning, of remembering of all those terrible difficulties. But for most people whose lives don't seem to be as immediately connected to the suffering of this, and I name this because the Dharma is about naming the joys and the sorrows, the suffering of this too. And I felt better for having reflected on that today, and not just the fun that I'm going to have eating with my family, which I feel very blessed about. But I also thought about the people who don't have anyone to have a meal with. And this is often a really difficult time of the year for people who are more isolated, alone, have had loss, separated from their loved ones. And so we want to also remember them in Thanksgiving. But Thanksgiving is something that we do. I do it every week here at Mission Dharma. I express my deep gratitude and appreciation for for the practice, for being with you, for the simplest thing, the simple fact of being aware. We do it, and every time we practice, we appreciate and feel grateful for the air we breathe, for our eyes, our ears, our nose, our tongue, our body, all those things. And it's something we shouldn't just relegate to, and maybe meditators don't just relegate it to Thanksgiving, but it's something that I think it's why we practice every day, so that we can give thanks, and so we can counter that excessive feeling of wanting what we don't have that seems to be part of our culture. That, I think I read from one of the lamas who says all about the consumer machine that needs to keep us greedy to keep going, and it keeps assaulting us with its propaganda and almost an impregnable environment of addiction in and around us. And that's really the way our minds work. So gratitude for breathing and sitting and having our senses open. It's an act of thanksgiving. It's an act of gratitude and appreciation for the immediacy of our lives. So during the sitting tonight, I was thinking about the conversation that the famous Thai master Ajahn Buddhadasa had with some people toward the end of his life. He was about 85 at the time. And this is where it connects with the three people who spoke during our discussion period. He was speaking with these people, and they asked him to comment, after having been a monk since he was 7 years old, basically almost 80 years, had been quite venerated, but had worked with thousands and thousands of people. They asked him to make a comment about humanity, all the people that have crossed his path. And he reduced his response to 3 words, which I think is is pretty pithy and to the point. He said, when asked about humanity, he just said, "Lost in thought." And that is it is a huge issue, is the domination of our rational mind, the disembodiment that comes from depending too heavily on our rational mind, and consequently missing the awe and wonder, the simple everyday gratitude for sight, sound, smells, tastes, even feeling triggered. If we're attuned to the presently arising experience, even that is something we can be grateful for, in awe of. This evening I was rummaging through some folders, and I found this Native American, I think she's Native American, her name is Joy Harjo, a poet. And this poetry speaks of someone who is in touch with the awe and wonder of our life in the most simple ways that are so easily taken for granted, and just we zoom by this amazing phenomenon. So anyway, Joy Harjo says, "Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each other, know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who the moon is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away to night. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of your mother's life, her life, and your mother's mothers, her mothers, and their mothers, hers. Remember your father, he. Your father is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. She, the wind, knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember, the dance language is, that life is. Remember. So as Thich Nhat Hanh, I teased out of a Thich Nhat Hanh poem many years ago, and I forgot what the rest of the poem was like, but in the poem he said, you who are the richest person on earth, who've been going around begging for a living, stop being the destitute child. Come home and reclaim your heritage. So it's nice to have Thanksgiving, but even better to have Thanksgiving every day with our practice of feeling our riches, feeling the richness of our senses, to feel just a habit of gratitude. I felt the gratitude. I'm doing a little survey here. I felt the gratitude from Albert Camus, who I love quoting, where he said, "My dear," and this was someone who had a gratitude for being present, for being awake. He says, "My dear, in the midst of hate, I found that there was within me an invincible love. In the midst of tears, I found that there was within me an invincible smile. In the midst of chaos, I found that there was within me an invincible calm. I realized through it all that in the midst of winter, I found that there was within me an invincible summer. And that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me, there is something stronger, something better pushing right back." Truly yours, Albert Camus. I felt the gratitude from the appreciation, gratitude from Carl Sagan when he described the picture that was taken called the pale blue dot. It was just a dot, and I'll read about it, and then you can maybe get his gratitude, and maybe it will help you go out and enjoy the night sky and stand in awe and wonder. He says, "We succeeded." Anyway, this picture is a photograph of the planet Earth taken on February 14th, Valentine's Day 1990, by the Voyager space probe from a record distance of about 6 billion kilometers or 3.7 billion miles. The Earth's apparent size is less than a pixel. The planet appears as a tiny dot against the vastness of space, among bands of sunlight reflected by the camera. Now, he's also giving commentary on humanity, but you can also feel his awe and wonder and his gratitude. He says, we succeeded in taking that picture from deep space. And if you look at it, you see a dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever lived out their lives. The aggregate of all our joys and sufferings, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilizations, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every hopeful child, every mother and father, every inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species live there on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and in triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of the dot on scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner of the dot. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. It's up to us. It's been said that astronomy is a humbling and, I might add, character-building experience. To my mind, there is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly and compassionate with one another, and to preserve and cherish that pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known. So all that drama that we get involved in is in some ways the fruit of being lost in thought, of living in our ideas, our opinions, our attachments, our desires, our hatreds. And what pacifies that so exquisitely is stopping and being grateful. As Thoreau put it, he says, I'm grateful for what I am and what I have. My thanksgiving is perpetual. He says, it's surprising how contented one can be with nothing definite, just a sense of existence. Oh, how I laugh at my vague, indefinite riches, for no run on my bank can drain it. For my wealth is not possession, but it's enjoyment of being. So I'm very grateful for that reminder that the practice and the teachings point to, the importance of opening our senses to our lives, our existence. One of my favorite teachers, 11th century, I think Tibetan, Atisha, said, consider all phenomena to be dreams, so the dream-like nature of reality. Be grateful to everyone. Don't be swayed by outer circumstances. This is the lesson. Don't brood over the faults of others. Explore the nature of unborn awareness. The teachings are constantly telling us to wake up, use our senses, explore this magical world, but then explore what it is that's noticing all that. And then be grateful for this mystery of being conscious. Unexplainable. But yet everything is known so effortlessly in awareness. Explore the nature of unborn awareness. At all time, simply rely on a joyful mind. Don't expect a standing ovation. That may be the deepest thing that he said. That's where our chronic rumination about how we're seen, how we're perceived, whether we're liked, whether we're judged, whether we're okay in the eyes of others, outsourcing our well-being to others. It says, don't be swayed by outer circumstances. Don't brood over the faults of others. So I'm quite grateful for that, at least the intention to remember that well-being that does not depend on circumstances. Lokuttara sukha, as the Buddha called it, the unconditional well-being, unstuck from the world, beyond the power and influence. And that's our capacity. That reminds me, one of the other things I'm grateful for is that, and why I think I can do this every week is because I know that we are trainable. We may have a chronic view that we're stuck with being the way we are, and personality-wise, we aren't. That's pretty hardwired. But in terms of how our mind stream is, it really depends, just as the Buddha recommended, it depends on what you frequently dwell upon, he says. Whatever you frequently think about and dwell upon becomes the inclination of the mind. And so it's really what you practice. If you practice awe, wonder, aware, joyful mind, you'll have a more joyful mind. You practice keeping your mind in your body and your body in your mind, you will be more settled. You'll have more peace. I really am inspired by Padmasambhava, who said, if you want to understand your past, look at your present experience, because what we experience is the fruit of what we've practiced before. But if you want to understand your future, look at your present actions. This is, as the Buddha put it, this is the womb out of which your future present moments are born. Why not have a daily Thanksgiving? I still am reminded I started in Mission Dharma when we were at the church in San Francisco. I recommended that people have a gratitude buddy, a Thanksgiving buddy, who they would check in daily and just say one thing they were grateful for. And I still am reminded by people who have not stopped doing that. I think it was like 15 years ago, and they're still checking in it's moved from picking up the phone to email to texting to, it's getting more and more, in some ways, cryptic and distant, but it still happens, and they're still grateful for being grateful. And so maybe we should do a 30-day gratitude challenge, do something like that. The other thing I'm grateful for, while I still am, we'll stop in a minute, in that same vein of being trainable, is that we can turn, and I was having a conversation about this with somebody, that what's unique to human is our difficulties can become, as the Buddha talked about it, they're the springboards to well-being. They're springboards to freedom, that our difficulties can become the cause of our well-being and our happiness. If, in a simple way, they make us humble and tender, and humble in the sense that we can't take, we can't control who comes into our lives, and often can't control how we react to them, but we can work with it, and we turn it into compassion, we turn it into more skillful actions, skillful speech, etc., etc. And one of my favorite examples of someone turning difficulties into awakening was Nelson Mandela, who, in a letter to his wife while he was imprisoned, he said, "You may find that the cell is an ideal place to get to know yourself, to search realistically and regularly the process of your own mind and feelings. In judging our progress as individuals, we tend to focus on external factors such as one's social position, influence and popularity, wealth, standard of education, but internal factors may be even more crucial in assessing one's development as a human being. Honesty, sincerity, simplicity, humility, purity, generosity, absence of vanity, readiness to serve your fellow beings. Qualities within reach of every being, every soul, are the foundations of one's spiritual life. At least if for nothing else, the cell gives you the opportunity to look daily into your entire conduct, to overcome the difficult and develop whatever is good in you. Regular meditation can be fruitful in this regard. You may find it difficult at first to pinpoint the negative factors in your life, but the 10th attempt may reap rich rewards. Never forget that a saint is a sinner that keeps on trying. So if he can have that attitude in prison, I think we can in our cult of this kind of prison. Of just a few more things. I can't leave without sharing this very interesting reminder to appreciate, to wake up. I was reading an article, let's see if I committed it to paper well enough. I was reading an article from, I think his last name is Haidt, Haidt. He's a sociologist and commentator about our world and what's happening to kids and technology and polarization and everything like that. And he cited in this article a question that many people have been asking. It's become viral. They've been asking ChatGPT, if you were the devil, how would you destroy the next generation without them even knowing it? And ChatGPT's response was, I wouldn't come with violence. I'd come with convenience. I'd keep them busy, always distracted. And that's us if we're not careful. So be grateful for this opportunity to be undistracted, to have the values of non-distraction in your mind stream already, and take advantage of it. And don't let the next generation or your generation be destroyed by convenience and distractedness. I think that's all I've got. I'm really grateful for all of you, grateful for all of your presence, generosity, this this giving and receiving, this circular experience that we have together that's gone on for a long time now. And may it continue, may it increase, may it never wane, and may you all have wonderful Thanksgivings. And feel free at any time to unmute and say good night. And let your good night be the sharing of blessings with all beings everywhere. I wish for everybody to be happy.
Thank you, Howie. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.